Hello and welcome back to E3 Live, IGN's live show. Here we have Garth DeAngelis, who is the lead producer on XCOM 2. I'm Dan Stapleton, and we are going to show you the world-exclusive premiere of XCOM 2 gameplay footage, which is something I'm very excited about.
I'm very excited as well. I'm bursting at the seams right now because, yeah, this is the first time we get to show it, and we are super excited to be able to show it with you, Dan.
So really quick, what are we going to see?
So what we're going to see, and for anyone that may have missed, XCOM 2 is the sequel to XCOM Enemy Unknown. We're in a new world where XCOM failed in Enemy Unknown. We really wanted to build off of the premise that EU being about consequences and loss, we wanted to take that and run with it. So what if XCOM, in all the stories in the players' playthroughs and in their heads where they didn't get to a certain point and they lost, which happened a lot in playthroughs, happened to a lot of our developers actually, if they lost, what would have happened? What would that story be? And we thought that was a pretty compelling narrative to start XCOM 2 at, because the game is all about having the odds stacked against you and then triumphing. So what we wanted to show you today was this very important inciting incident where XCOM, for the past 20 years, they have been underground. They've been scattered. They have no organization. They don't have scientists and engineers building things, but there is a small pulse of life. And finally, it's time to emerge from the shadows and strike back at the heart of the alien occupiers that have taken over Earth since Enemy Unknown. So the aliens have built these big megacities, these big city centers, and the demo that we're going to show you today takes place on Unification Day. Unification Day is an alien-created holiday. You know, they saw that we took to things like Memorial Day and Independence Day, and they said, you know, we're your saviors. We're gonna have this day once a year, so you can commemorate how we have.
Their evil hallmark.
That's yes, evil hallmark. How they have cured disease. There's no more theft or crime, and the front that they have for that is the Advent administration. So you'll see with the opening of this demo that they're here to commemorate Unification Day, and you'll see XCOM emerge from the shadows.
All right, let's see it.
Preparations are already underway in cities across the globe.
Today marking the 20-year anniversary of
Unification Day, the very beginnings of the Advent Coalition.
Celebration. Thousands flock to the site of the Great Accord.
Hard to forget the impassioned message of last year's commencement address.
Earth's corrupt political body struck first against a peaceful visitor, resulting in devastation that left hundreds of millions with nothing. If not for the enduring patience and generosity of the elders.
recent arrests of the radicals behind the assault of the Gene Therapy Center.
Advent has assured all citizens that today's celebration will continue as planned.
I've heard enough. Signal gatecrasher. Take it down.
All right, gatecrasher. Advent's little circus is dead ahead. Keep a low profile and deliver the package.
Classic XCOM.
Remember, the crowd has them
This is the
distracted.
introduction to one of those city centers I was talking about. This is what the aliens in the Advent have built to draw humans to, like a moth to a flame. It's this beautiful city, very sterile, and XCOM is now here. You'll notice that they're actually in concealment, which we can talk about more in depth after if you want, but there's that cool screen shader around, and now one of the coolest things about XCOM is the flip. The switch has been flipped. You are now, in a way, the invader. You're the good invader, but unlike the EU abduction missions where you're responding to something and trying to find the aliens in the fog of war, you are now in the shadows. And as you can see here, the Advent administration is not aware that you're around. And that is a game mechanic that we really wanted to leverage, and we thought it fit really well with the Resistance theme, that you can now operate from the shadows. And it allows the players to really set up these cool ambush moments. And based on how they want to play, they can sort of break concealment. We have cool little touches like this where since XCOM is sort of the renegades entering these cities, you'll see your actual created soldiers on these holographic billboards. You're now wanted. The civilians don't trust you because the Advent is spitting propaganda that says if you see anyone like this, report them to us. So this is the crowd here at Unification Day. Advent is keeping everyone in line after the Dark Collaborator spoke, as you saw in the intro video. And now we're moving in with our units. This is one of my favorite actions that never gets old. What we're setting up here is actually a double Overwatch ambush. So we're moving our specialist and our rookie into position. They're still outside of the concealment radius. You can see the red tiles. You do not want to go there. But you still have to be careful because the enemies can patrol and then they can move and see you once it's their turn. But we're setting up a double Overwatch. We have 2 units in Overwatch, and now our Ranger is moving up into position. As soon as she takes a shot, you're going to see a pretty cool chain effect. So concealment's broken. And we had executed a nice double Overwatch flawlessly. But now the enemy knows where your squad is. So we're going to send our second rookie forward. She is going to deliver the package. And one of the really cool things about XCOM is that these maps are completely procedural. Not only is the geometry procedurally placed, but the objectives are procedural as well. In this particular instance, we have a mission objective of sabotage a building. So that's what we're looking to do, and Central is giving us the information about how to do that. Now it is the aliens' turn. Destruction is back and is more. There's more destruction than ever. You can see the effects and the walls going out, and if you happen to have a big firefight in a building, now floors and ceilings can also be taken out, and rooftops. This is an homage to one of the original XCOMs as well. Okay, so. A lot of you have seen the Viper in the trailer. Well, here she is in gameplay. You saw she combined. She can also do this nifty trick.
Damn it! Someone take that thing out!
So we see an alien, that is bad news for reasons like that. But luckily, the player has some new tools up their sleeve as well. This is one of the new classes, the Ranger. And because you have scarce resources, XCOM is taking new methods into their own hands, such as melee. And she has this really awesome machete sword. As you can see, you can take it directly to the alien when needs call for it. And we have a classic XCOM moment here. 3 Advent by a car. That's like a zebra sunbathing when a lion is ready to pounce. So we're going to take advantage of that and take them all out at once. We have a lot of new grenades as well. Acid bombs, fire bombs that have more spreading fire that the player will be able to build and take advantage of. That is another Advent unit called the Turret. It's an immobile sentry gun that goes on Overwatch once you trigger its reveal. So our rookie here is trying to deliver the package, and the turret is firing at her. Luckily, she made it through unscathed, and here she is taking care of the objective. Okay, so in XCOM 2, you have to be careful because the enemies can call reinforcements at any time. It can happen when you get to an objective or after, and in this case, 3 new Advent troops have been called in. So you have to get in, strike fast, and get out of dodge. And of course, permadeath is alive and well, which is a weird oxymoron. We lost one of our soldiers there, but our objective has been achieved. We've taken out the monument, which has gloriously fallen on many Advent troops. And now, so you got a taste of the Ranger earlier. One of our other new classes is the Specialist. You may have noticed he's moving around with his little pet gremlin, a robot drone that has a lot of uses. In this case, we're going to reveal hacking. So you can send the drone out to robotic units like the turret, and depending on the tech stat of your specialist, you can get one of 3 rewards. You can either disable the turret, you can take it over and control it, or you can take it over and get optimized control where it does more damage and has more shots. So now the turret is ours. We're going to see what damage it can do. And that is just the tip of the iceberg for robotic enemies. You can really turn the tables on the aliens with future gremlin abilities as well.
All clear. Well done, Gatecrasher. We just put Advent on notice.
All right, looks like we may be in the clear.
What the hell is that? You can't take
That is the evolved Berserker. You may have remembered the Berserker, a pretty dangerous melee unit from Enemy Unknown, accompanied by Advent mechs, which is another Advent type. We have a lot of different Advent variations beyond the Trooper and the Captain that we've shown. And the mechs here do not need to take cover. Heavily armored, heavy firepower. But the Berserker is the real danger right now. Okay, so another new feature in XCOM 2 is you now can save either your critically wounded or dead soldiers from the battlefield, where you literally have to pick them up so you can get their gear. No more of getting that powered armor or that plasma rifle from Enemy Unknown just by winning the mission. You actually have to take them back. We've set an evac zone, which is now user-placed, depending on the procedural mission objective type that you get. And what that does is that calls the Sky Ranger. Once you get your units in that evac zone, the Sky Ranger comes for you.
Well, that was really impressive. So, I know that tense escape like that is something that XCOM. I mean, you had those sometimes in Enemy Unknown, where you were had to tuck your tail and run and just barely escape. But like this seems like you've got missions set up specifically to create that kind of scenario.
Yeah, those moments actually happen. Not the real-time running of the Berserker at you,
right.
But those moments do happen where you are planning a methodical escape and you're overwhelmed at the end, and so you have to make the most decisive moves and turns to get your units out alive. And when it's even exasperated when you have someone over your shoulder and you're like, we got to get both of our butts out of Dodge. How are we going to do this? There's no way we can fend these groups off. It's a really cool new mechanic.
So there's like a whole bunch of stuff we could go over in this trailer, but a couple of things I want to like calm some people who are probably freaking out right now, because when those Advent reinforcements showed up,
yes.
They got a free shot at you. That does not actually happen in the game, right? That was for expedient demoing.
Well, all right. I was going to say a bad joke, but you're right. I do not want to freak out anyone watching right now. That does not actually happen. They do not get a free shot at you upon leaving the reinforcements. So.
Right, but you get to counter their scamper.
Yes.
What we saw you do that double or triple takedown.
Yeah. I mean, one of the pieces of low-level mechanical feedback we got from fans was they did not like that the aliens had sort of a free move upon reveal. And that'll still happen most of the time when you're out of concealment. But we really thought that was a prime opportunity for concealment to say, look, you can get that higher percentage shot on them. You can set it up when you are concealed and do things like the double overwatch.
That's actually using the scamper against them.
That's right.
Because they're triggering your overwatch.
That's right.
Which is really nasty. I like it. I like it a lot.
Oh, it's fun. It doesn't get old.
And that turret, when you hacked it, it got 2 shots. Like, that's super powerful.
It did. We're still playing with those mechanics right now. We know that we want the user to either be able to disable, take over with just a basic shot, and then there's a third tier, which does something even more awesome. And in the case for this demo, it was a double shot.
And the squad abilities you showed here, we've got the support who has the gremlin, and you have the ranger who has the sword.
That's right.
And then the other 2 were squaddies. So those guys went down real fast.
They did go down very fast. That'll still happen early in the game, particularly when you have rookies and you are facing off against aliens, because you'll see a lot of the Advent troops that we showed early in the game. But eventually, as XCOM emerges, their reputation grows, the aliens will start stepping out from the shadows a little bit more, and they are very, very hard to take down. And if you have any rookies against aliens, they are very likely to die quickly. You need to use group tactics. You need to be very, very careful when taking on aliens.
Yeah, that Viper just ripped that guy out of cover from like a long distance away and just killed him in one shot.
That's right. I mean, the Viper example, that's another case of expediency for the demo. What happened could actually happen if you had somebody with low HP and the Viper had 2 turns to pull them out and then bind right away. But usually the Viper will yank you out of cover. If they're not adjacent to you, they're not going to bind right away. If they do bind right away, if your soldier is strong enough and has enough hit points, then similar to the Seeker from Enemy Within, they'll have the opportunity to struggle out. And if you have other units alive, then they can shoot at the Viper to release her bind.
All right, man. There's so much more in there. Like you had the detection zone.
Yes.
Where you were saying they would patrol and that would move, but would it have been possible in this mission for you to just circumvent the advent entirely, get to the target, and then evac without firing a shot?
You could try. That's very, very tough to do in a mission, just because we still have fully dynamic and patrolling and roaming AI, and if you try to sneak through when you don't know exactly where these guys are, when we have full fog of war. That's a big risk you take, because then if you trigger one, the groups that you may have snuck by behind you will all converge on you. So it's an interesting dynamic that players can certainly try for, but we didn't want to lose sight of the fact that XCOM combat, core combat, is very, very important. We didn't want this to become a stealth-driven game. We wanted the players to be able to have a taste of stealth and concealment. Again, set up those ambushes, but then after that, they have new elements of XCOM combat that they know and love, which is shooting down bad guys and taking them out.
So this is a procedurally generated level. How might this be different the next time we see it?
Yeah, so you were dropped in between buildings, and then you sort of went through this park with a ankle-high pool in it. That could change to anything. It could become a street with another advent checkpoint on it or not. It could become a parking lot. It could become a whole building. It could become a clothing store or a propaganda center or a gene therapy clinic. All of these things sort of plug into our plot and parcel system, and you don't know what's going to show up. And it's not just geometry that changes. Layered on top of that is the objective that you saw. So in this particular case, you were assigned with disrupting Unification Day, and that's blowing up the monument. But you may have gotten something such as hacking a workstation or destroying an enemy target, or maybe neutralizing a dark VIP like the guy that you saw in the beginning of the demo. All of that stuff layers on top of the geometry changes that happen as well. So it really leads to this awesome feeling that is, and it's sort of in line with the Alien City Centers too, of this eerie feeling where they're trying to construct this beauty to the human eye, but you're like, I haven't quite seen this before. Things are a little bit different. It feels very different than Enemy Unknown. You know, you will not say, this is the museum map. I'm playing the museum map again. You know, time of day changes, weather changes, and all of that geometry and mission objective change. So it really does feel like a different game.
So I noticed another highly fan-requested feature in there, which is all those different soldiers had accents.
There were accents, yes. We're making a concerted effort not to be dominated by just American English accents. You know, we're going to be having some other flavors in there as well, and character customization is going to be amazing. It's really.
This guy had an eye patch.
Yeah. Do you see the eye patch? We have eye patches, mohawks, Viking-style haircuts. I mean, this is a ragtag sort of resistance gang that does not have the uniformity of XCOM Enemy Unknown. So we wanted players to be able to customize them to a whole other layer. They can change their nationality, they can change their gender if they want. We really wanted to push these things to the max.
So one thing I noticed when you were killing all those Advent soldiers, they did not bleed red blood.
Dan, I don't know if I saw that, first of all. I think you might be making something up.
No, these guys are full of goo.
Yes, they may be. Or I don't know, maybe that was a graphical glitch. The fans will have to see. I don't know.
So I think it's safe to speculate that we might see some genetically enhanced Advent at some point.
There might be. I will say there's a lot more. What you saw in this trailer, in this demo, was the Advent Trooper, which is the baseline. And they're pretty straightforward. They're smart, but they're pretty straightforward. The Advent Captain was the red one. And they can do command-style abilities on the battlefield. We didn't actually have them in this demo, but they do really cool things that can buff the troopers if they're in the AoE when they give that command, or they can mark targets to make sure that other enemies are trying to take out that particular ranger because he's the most deadly. All those sorts of things are happening, and there's a bunch of other Advent units that we haven't even touched on yet.
And one thing we don't see you do in this demo is use the waypoint system.
Yes, we do not use the waypoint system. The waypoint system is critical. It's going to be very important for, obviously, the PC interface and for power users if they want to make a decision to sort of cut through a hazard zone. But the way that we're building the pathing system is we want it to smart path around things like concealment, things like fire that's spreading. If you want to go through it for whatever reason, it's your last turn to get to the objective, you can do that, but you just have to opt into the waypoint to do that.
So it's less like I'm going to make my guy go around this problem area, and more I'm going to make my guy go through it because I'm going to make that sacrifice to achieve my goal.
That's right. You got it.
Interesting.
You got it.
So what can you tell us about these Advent mechs? That's the first I've seen of them.
Oh yeah, the mechs are very dangerous. They usually accompany Advent troops, and they have some similarities to the mechs from Enemy Within. They don't take cover, high armor, and they do high damage. They have a really cool ability. You do not want to group your troops together because they will use a micro missile on you. That has done a lot of quick work on my rookies in my personal playthroughs. So they're pretty dangerous.
And what about that new Muton Brute?
Yes, the Berserker. There's not much we're going to reveal about her other than similar to EU. You want to stay. Do not let her get next to you. I mean, you sort of got a taste of it. She's very dangerous if you get in close quarters. She's the strongest melee unit in the game.
Yeah, that backhand is pretty mean. And I especially liked how the ranger just like hit the environment and slumped down.
Yes,
that's all dynamically done, huh?
We had some knockback in Enemy Within, and it's an awesome system. And you saw how that parlayed then into having to salvage that body through picking up as well.
And I did notice that the gun was left behind when you picked it up, but you aren't going to make us choose between picking up the soldier and saving their life and saving the equipment, right? You get both?
You have one of the best eyes I have seen. Yes, the gun was left behind. But, however, you do get the gear when you pick up the body. You get the armor, you get the gun, you get the items. That's part of the package of bringing back the soldier and sort of the feel of it's not just an aesthetic thing.
Right.
You're also potentially saving them if they're critically wounded, and you also get their awesome gear to then pass on to another soldier. That's sort of the
even
token.
if they die.
That's right. That's right.
Otherwise, they get to keep it.
Yes. Yes, that's true.
I noticed that specialist was able to run a long way to get to that extraction point. Is there a encumbrance that comes with carrying somebody out?
No. There's not an encumbrance right now based on the implementation of it. But that was a little bit long to get out. But you can still dash. You can still dash with
Right.
carrying a body.
And I guess specialists like the support maybe do they have an ability to get running faster than any other unit?
So some of the later game abilities are still TBD right now, but you're talking about something like sprint from EU.
Yeah.
You can increase. Yeah. That's still being explored right now by design in the tree.
And the specialist is using his gremlin, obviously. We saw him hack with it, but he can also use that in an offensive or defensive capacity?
Yeah, you can. There's a lot of things you can do with the gremlin. It really is a versatile tool. The most exciting thing you can do with it is hack, and there's multiple layers of hacking as well, not just on the turret and not just in the rewards, but what type of units you can hack, which is really exciting.
You could probably hack one of those mechs, for example.
Maybe you can. But then they can also do things with the objective, if it makes sense. If it's a hack objective, like you said, they can buff units very much like in a support role. And the gremlins can get a little on the offensive if they want to as well, as you saw in the trailer.
Yeah.
That's right.
So we saw in this we didn't see the sectoid in this.
No, the sectoid was just pulling the strings on this response right now. The sectoid is pretty deadly.
One of the abilities you told us about earlier, Psi Reanimate.
Yes.
Like that's terrifying. That they can revive a dead XCOM soldier or a dead alien to fight again.
Yes, Reanimate is terrifying. It is absolutely terrifying. And as an aside, you know, this was obviously designed a long time ago. When we saw the Game of Thrones White Walker reanimate, we were like, that is our sectoid. And it is that feel when you're in there and you see this sectoid raise multiple size zombies. It is quite terrifying. But there's a little bit of a puzzle of how you can counter that. But we'll let the players play with that once they play with the sectoid.
All right, well, that was XCOM 2 exclusive first footage. This is coming out in November on PC. I'm super excited.
I'm excited too.
November got real busy.
November did get busy. But that is going to be the month of joyous gaming. I'm super excited.
Yeah,
I hope you guys are excited.
It's gonna be a really good November, I think.
Yes, it is. You might want to take the month off, Dan.
I will see what I can do. So we'll be right back with much more IGN live show for E3.